Hello and welcome to your first workshop, in which we're going to go over the techniques learned in the character animation section. We're going to put all the pieces together. Now this is going to be a little different because I'm going to show you an existing project. It's a Merry Christmas video that I sent out to my Facebook group, and it's going to use some characters that won't exist unless you have the extended license. You won't have access to them. So if you want to follow along, just use your own characters. It's also going to include backgrounds, which we haven't covered, music, and text. So we'll just kind of have them there and assume that we're going to figure them out later. Focus on the character animation. So with that said, let's jump over to Create Studio. So here we are in Create Studio, and I've got several layers. As you can see here, I've got the music on the bottom. I've got mountains, and this is an MP4 video that I imported for the background so that it would have moving snow. And then I've got Santa, a polar bear, a reindeer, and then a Merry Christmas text effect. And if we play it, it all comes together and looks like this. A nice little video. And what we're going to do is we're going to recreate the character part of this. Now, once again, these are characters that you won't have access to unless you have the extended license, but use any characters that you want. And we'll get more into backgrounds and text effects and music later. So to do this, let's wink out with the eye Santa Claus, the polar bear, and the reindeer, and we'll create that again. By the way, let me look and make sure that I know the effects for these, so we'll bring them back in, and let's open Santa Claus, and we can, okay, we need to zoom. You can see he's idle, and then he's happy, and then he waves, and he's idle, and he's happy, and he's idle again. So that's the Santa Claus movements. The polar bear jumps in and is angry, thinks, and then gets an idea, and then he waves and he does a thumbs up, and then he's idle. And then the reindeer comes walking in, gets happy, goes idle for a while, and then he starts dancing. So those are the effects, or the actions actually, that we're going to apply. And then we're going to have some movement animation too. So let's wink them out and bring them back in. Let's begin with Santa. To get Santa, I go over to the studio, characters, 3D characters, and I scroll down until I found Santa, and there's Santa Claus. So I pull him in. Now we don't want him quite this high. We want him, because he's dwarfing the trees, we want to bring him down into the foreground. Now it's okay if he dwarfs the trees, but he looks like he's standing in the snow. So he comes on and he's idle. Then let's add some actions. I say add action. Let me see, we want him idle, and then he's going to be happy. And then let's have him idle again for a little bit. And then we'll have him wave. Is there a wave? There should be a wave. Look at all these actions. These 3D characters are newer characters, so they have more actions. We'll have him wave, and then we'll have him go idle again, and we'll end with him being happy. There, and that almost hits, the length of the original music. So if we play this, it's going to look like this. Very nice. Now, let's work on the reindeer. Actually, let's do the polar bear. There's the polar bear right here. So we're going to bring that on. And he's going to be over here to the left, standing in the snow. And what he's got to do is come onto the screen, right? His first effect is not going to be this idle. We're going to click on that, and we're going to replace the idle with a jump in and angry. Okay, let's play that. Okay, that's nice because we don't even have to do some movement. He starts off the screen, so we're not going to have to do any movement for that jump in effect. Now, he jumps in and he's angry, and then we add an action. He thinks. Where is thinking, then an idea. And then, after he gets this idea, the idea that he gets is to be happy. And then we'll have him wave. Wave should be down at the bottom. Notice these are in alphabetical order. And then we'll have him go idle. And that's pretty close to the end. Let's do another idle so that he goes all the way out to the end. And then we'll take him and we'll shorten him up so he's the length of everything else. There we go. So now what do we have? Very nice. Now let's work on the reindeer. Now, the other thing I've talked about as far as using multiple characters is that it gets to clog up the timeline. Now, what we can do is we can come through. I like amazing sounds. That gives us the length. But we can come here and we can say, we don't need to see all this stuff now. So let's remove that from the timeline so we just have the music. Now, let's go and add our elk. I think the elk is, there he is. Oh, he's a reindeer actually, I didn't know that. I thought he was an elk. So let's have him over here. And what he's going to do is he's going to actually walk onto the screen. Ooh, we put him way at the end. Here we go. So his action is going to be to, whoops, we don't want to add action. We want to replace action with walking. So he's going to walk on, and then he's going to be, let's add an idle action, and then we'll have him be happy. And what about if we have him go idle again? And then dancing. Oh, look at that. That hit just the very end again. So let's see. Here's the effect. Here are the effects. Very nice. But the problem is he's walking in place. So what do we have to do? We have to come over here to the walking action, and let's add a custom animation of position. So we bring up the animation, we say position, and that gives us a little position thing. Now, once again, position, the animation has to be shorter than the character. There's no problem there because the character is really long. So we can get over the character so we can select him, but we can get to the left of the animation. So on the left of the animation, he's going to be here. And on the right of the animation, he's going to be here. Right? So we have this nice movement. Now, I want that to be the entire walking sequence, so let's take this and stretch it out, this animation to stretch out the walking action. And now we've got him walking onto the screen. So check out, here's our animations. That's a nice, short, little Christmas animation. And if we go here and we bring in the missing things, I guess the mountain is the only thing that's missing. or the snow. So let's bring that in and watch it one more time. By the way, notice that by using an animation, an MP3 in the background, I get the snow to move. This adds more action. So this is better than having just a static image sitting there. Very nice. So that's our project, our workshop, animating several characters, and we just need to go through another section or two so that we can talk about adding backgrounds and adding text before you'll understand that full video. And we may come back and revisit this as a workshop for adding music, backgrounds, and text animation. So that was it, the character animation workshop. In the next lecture, it's actually a textual file which gives you a project to perform, and also asks you to submit your project to the Q&A section of the course. So be sure and do the project. I'll see you there, and then we'll soon be moving on to the next section.